Wake up, Adam, they are getting close.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Israel's Rafael says that it is developing hypersonic missile interceptors. That's pretty quick considering that Iran just said that they made these things. It says that the Israeli state-owned defense contractor behind the Iron Dome and David Sling air shields announced on Wednesday the development of a new system to counter hypersonic missiles, a week after Iran said it had produced its first such weapon. The Skysonic interceptor will enable us to intercept all kinds of hypersonic threats. Hypersonic ballistic missiles, hypersonic cruise missiles. Yuval Steinitz, chairman of Rafael Advanced Defense Systems Limited, told Reuters at an event. And yes, I know it's not Reuters. The Pentagon was briefed on the development. Rafael said it declined to say if or when the Israeli military would deploy Skysonic. Israel's defense ministry had no immediate comment. Hypersonic missiles can fly at least 5 times faster than the speed of sound and on a complex trajectory, making them hard to shoot down. An animated video rendition of Skysonic issued by Rafael showed an interceptor missile taking off vertically from a launch battery, and the missile's warhead is then shown detaching and flying with its own booster towards an incoming threat. So how do they do this? I wonder if this has something to do with the now SpaceX and Starlink, how they said that Starlink 1 and 4 or such have an actual detector for hypersonic objects. Do they have their own version of that up now? How would they even do that? It's like hitting a hypersonic bullet with another hypersonic bullet. Pretty insane to think that it might be real. Again, many people even doubt it. It doesn't matter if it's the U.S. or Russia. People doubt that these things even exist at this point. Again, if they're hypersonic, then they will be extremely hard to hit. They need this because now if Iran truly does have hypersonic missiles and possibly got the designs from Russia, then they could potentially wipe out Israel without Israel even responding, or before they could even get their pants up, so to speak. So we'll talk about this and much, much more on tonight's show. Stick around. It's going to be a good one. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, remember, you can always go to our website for a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document we're going to show you here today. Now, when you go to our website, you'll see that it is very easily organized. Just look for today's thumbnail, major hack, get ready, and I mean it. Make sure to have a plan. Couldn't get much more serious than that. Yesterday, we did a video out over on Marfoogle News, which is actually available on that page. When you click, you'll see not only do we have all of our sources and, of course, our video from yesterday, but we also have additional content. Now, before I get to the overflow, I just want to remind you guys, the other channel, our sister channel, has the hacking group gives banks 48 hours. We will reference several things today in today's show, referencing kind of what we talked about yesterday in this video. So make sure to go check that out and, of course, watch that because it will fill you in on the rest. Of course, 3 different hacking groups teamed up and they said that they were going to either possibly or they were basically saying that they were going to hack the European central banking system. And it was a pretty big threat because of who it was coming from. It wasn't just coming from one group, it was actually coming from 3. They all did videos. Now, again, who knows, we might get an update that somebody made those videos or something and pretended to be those groups, but most people believe that it was at least a legit threat. Whether they can do it or not, I don't know. But it's something that came out on the same day as the central banking people actually came out with their own warning about a catastrophic event. So with this, after I put this video out, we got contacted by a few of our Foogle fan members, and these are, in a sense, we can't really, in the sense of anonymity, they don't want to be mentioned, but they did confirm that this is a big threat and that they are doing things about this right now and that they actually already had 2 really, really big meetings about this in 24 hours. One, which was at 3 a.m. in the morning. So that's all I know. And again, I can't confirm that personally, but I would say this. I from what I have heard from them, I believe them. And if this is real, then I would believe that would make a lot of sense. So I would have just a basic plan, especially if you're in Europe. If you're in Europe, this is where it would affect it first, but the entire world would be affected if the European banking system went down in any capacity. Frankly, any place that is running with the US dollar as kind of the backbone of things, which pretty much the world is now, it is not a good thing for anybody. So I'd highly recommend you watch that video and make sure to also have a basic plan, especially if you are anywhere in Europe. So we'll get to that. And then on the overflow, there's all sorts of other stuff that's going on right now. Excuse me tonight. I might not, I'm having a what you can call a flare. It's a little bit more complicated than that. But I have a lot of intestinal pain. So I'm just going to get through today's show. And we're not going to be doing calls, but we're going to be doing extra stuff tomorrow. So we will have a call in tomorrow, and I assume I'll be better by then, from what I hope. So let's bring my co-host / internet brother Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine, and I'm hoping you're feeling better soon.
Well, thanks, Dex. And then make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/friends to find all of our mods. Make sure to drop an M in the chat right now for the mods. They do an awesome job keeping it peaceful. We, of course, have all of our regular OG Foogle fam in the house. And then, of course, our great mods are down there as well. So make sure to drop an M in the chat right now. Dex, do you want to make a comment on the Raphael saying that they've developed hypersonic missile interceptors?
I'm with you, man. The timing of this is, it's just perfect because, just last week, Iran said they have hypersonic. So, of course, the adversary there has to say they have a solution. Now, to be fair, I'm sure way back when, Russia first announced they had them or were starting to test them, they were probably already doing development to try to see what they could do to intercept these things and expand their Iron Dome technology or advance their Iron Dome technology to something like this. So it's just a matter of, this is probably more PR right now, and not just PR from a media point of view, but even from a adversarial positioning point of view against Iran, is making sure that, they're not looking like they're in a position that they will not be able to defend against this. So I think that's probably what this is at the moment, but I guess we'll see how long it takes them to actually bring it to production and if it really works.
Crusader General says the USD is as reliable as bottom surgery. That's pretty good. it's getting worse too. We're all watching kind of this slow burn of everything getting burned down around us. So we'll see. And then let's see here. Exclusive U.S. government agencies hit in a global cyber attack. This is, I mean, I feel like this whole week is going to be filled with this stuff, and next week, because of obviously what is happening right now is this is definitely the narrative. Whether it is all as bad as everybody thinks it is, this is definitely getting pushed to the forefront, at least for a few days. The thing is I cover a lot of news, and I cover it all the time, and I obviously see the patterns and things. Things will pop up at the top of the spotlight for a few days, and then people will forget about them. I never forget about things like this because I do believe these are the important things, at least in my opinion they are, and many people will forget about this in a few days, like solar winds. Solar winds was a pretty big deal, but that's only because they just kept finding out more and more and more, and over months they found out, it was horrendous. It was like they hacked into every single military branch. They hacked into pretty much every large corporation that probably already has your information. They hacked into those. They hacked into human resource departments in states so they could literally access the offices that make new badges for critical infrastructure like power plants and water resources and things like this. I mean, they could literally make one of their agents, a terrorist, frankly. They could give them a badge that they made themselves while they were hacked in through solar winds, and they could just walk right into a sensitive area. That's what we were talking about. They also access Black Star, which we talked about yesterday in that video and in yesterday's show. And now there's a ton of these cyber events going down. Is this surprising? No, because we've been telling you to watch out for this. And because they're covering it so much and because mainstream's covering it, a lot of our people and our community is going to go, oh, well, if mainstream's talking about it, it's not true. But yet the thing is alternative media, we knew about this long time ago. And then it wasn't being covered, and then people believed it. But then when it actually starts happening, then they're like, oh, well, now mainstream's covering it, so it's not going to happen. Well, mainstream did a whole lot of coverage of CV, whether you believe whatever that was, since 2019, whatever you believe that was, it most definitely changed your life. It did it not? And what's crazy is I'm talking to people all over the world, and almost all of you were in the same boat. All of us were in the same thing, where we were all locked down to our houses, everything else. So that was a massive change we saw coming. We knew it was coming. And it wasn't just us, it was everybody. It was Survival Lily, it was Canadian Prepper, it was Alaska Prepper, it was Survival Living. We all saw it coming. It was insane how much lead up to it, like how much they showed their cards beforehand. And now we're seeing cyber attack news like we haven't seen. I don't think we've ever seen this much chatter on such a large level. And it says that several U.S. federal government agencies have been hit in a global cyber attack that exploits a vulnerability in widely used software. The U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency is, quote, providing support to several federal agencies that have experienced intrusions affecting their Move It applications. Eric Goldstein's the agency's statement on Thursday to CNN. Referring to the software impacted, we are working urgently to understand impacts and ensure timely remediation. So, Dex, from a technical standpoint of view, what do you think actually happened here?
So it sounds to me like Move It, and Move It, for those, and most of us don't know what it is. This is enterprise software. This is software that big companies use to move data. They take and move. They use it to move secure data. You actually might have used it. Let's say if you were to fill out a banking application and you needed to send secure information, like your paycheck stubs or something like that. You might have used that Move It technology to do that. But Basically, it's a company called Progress Software. It's a $2.5 billion publicly traded company. It's one of their many products. It's called Move It, and it had the vulnerabilities. It's been used by lots of companies. You can go to their website and see who they feature. But in what they've announced so far is a handful of government agencies that have been hit by this attack, this vulnerability that has been identified in Move It. And then not only did they find the one that the hackers were using, but they since found a second vulnerability, and they're trying to figure out if the hackers are using that one as well. Similar to SolarWinds, but nowhere near as prolific. SolarWinds was everywhere because it was just a more common piece of software. This is a very common piece of software in the enterprise space for moving large amounts of secure data that you need to do. So there will be a lot of companies potentially that may come out and we may hear more names, so to speak, that come out after this article.
And as far as Peaceful Warrior Debbie says, deep depression, if you can pray for me, I will be praying for you, and I hope everybody in the chat will be lifting you up as well. Through times like this, it's easy to let that get to you, but I would say I think each person individually has to come up with a system, how they get through life in general, and how you can kind of ward that off. It would be crazy to say that I think that almost every single person here has gone through some sort of hard struggle in their life. There's very few, even if there's somebody who you think that they're not going through a struggle. They may be rich, or they have everything. They drive a nice car. They're keeping up with the Joneses. Those people always have internal struggles, or they have horrible things. The wife or spouse is cheating or something, or they have incredible amounts of debt that you don't know about, or some crazy thing. We've known family members and family friends that have taken their own life over losing money in the stock market and things. It's like you never know what the next person next to you is going through. So that's why if you are newer here and it's just like your first month or so here, we try to make sure that this is a place where we can talk about this stuff, but also try to have everybody back each other up and be the answer for the solution. Like, if you guys can help each other figure out, like, hey, there's a problem here, how can you protect against it? You guys should be helping each other out with that, because we can't possibly cover all of the solutions on this show, but we can say we can control our attitude about the stuff that we are covering. So please try to keep a peaceful outlook and push each other up when you can. It's really getting rough for a lot of people right now, especially with the inflation. We could cover inflation every day if we wanted to, because there's so much news on it. The prices of everything is just absolutely absurd, and people can keep covering it and keep talking about it. I wish it would change. I wish they would, something would happen. But what is going to happen is, I don't think people realize this, is our whole system is breaking down. So people really need to have prep and plan, and also not be attached to the things that we take for granted. All of this stuff around us could go down at any point, and that's not like a scary thing. That's just a realistic thing, that human beings shouldn't be attached to all of these electronics. We shouldn't be attached to platforms. We shouldn't be attached to any of it. 100 years ago, we would have been just fine if any of these kind of attacks happened. Now we would be completely screwed, and people would perish. That wouldn't happen 100 years ago. People wouldn't die if the electricity went out. They just wouldn't. Even in the 20s and 30s, I mean, people just got it done. We don't have that anymore. We have been heavily dependent on electricity and our internet and everything else that has come along, fairly recently as far as the internet. So keep pushing each other up, guys. And then U.S., Japan, South Korean security advisors discuss North Korea-China seas. Any one of these meetings, we don't know what they're actually doing when these meetings happen, but you can kind of guess. And if you go back in history, before major events happen, there's always all sorts of high-ranking leaders that end up meeting and doing these kind of closed-door meetings, or they end up doing all sorts of kind of public relations visits, and in those public relations visits behind closed doors, afterwards they go back and they decide things. It says that national security advisors for the United States, Japan, and South Korea on Thursday discussed maintaining ability in the Taiwan Strait and coordination over the East China and South China Seas, the White House said in a statement. It says that the White House's Jake Sullivan, along with his counterparts at a trilateral meeting in Tokyo, also discussed North Korea's illicit nuclear and missile programs and most recent provocations and identified next steps to strengthen their cooperation. Now, if you remember, Japan just recently said that they were going to shoot down any spy satellite that went over them or they believed would go close to them. It was kind of weird, actually. They're basically saying if anything comes towards them, they're going to shoot it down. Kind of a bigger change for Japan. Japan usually doesn't, go out and do any of that, but they have also changed their constitution. They're changing a lot of things. Dex, I mean, even the fact that we covered that Japan is changing things like threatening to shoot stuff down. I don't even remember that. Have they done that before? Usually it's always a defensive thing, now they're saying that things are changing really quickly in all of these countries mentioned.
Yeah, and they just started to participate in the drills in NATO drills that are happening right now. Air Defender 23 in Germany, that's new for them. They are also trying to change, and they may have just passed the bill that allows them to sell their military equipment to other countries. And now the reason that's important, if you think about it, if they can only manufacture for themselves, it's not like they're going to make a lot. They might make, let's say they make 1,000 tanks, but if they can sell, 10,000 because they can sell to other countries, then they get economies of scale. So that's like a big thing that will help their own military industrial complex, if you want to use that term, actually grow, because right now they haven't been able to economically build stuff. It's not that much of it's a good deal for them to actually make their own equipment. So all of these changes are happening with Japan. They're all happening, and they're basically pulling them out of the restrictions or the repressed state that they sort of were in after World War II, and they're now coming to the forefront and saying taking more of a front and center offensively positioned country.
Now, as Rip Kroll had a comment there, and by the way, nice to see you, Rip. And Rip Kroll Readiness, one of our great mods, says, could they know that something is coming? I think it's really obvious. I think Japan changing their constitution, I think all of this, they know what is happening here. Personally, I see the huge pushback of saying anything about, China taking over the world. But if you look, many have pointed out places like Jamaica, places like Bolivia, and all of these different countries are having China step in and build their infrastructure, build their roads, give them their loans, and they're not forgiving them. We've now seen at least two places with over 50% inflation that this has happened to. One is at 120%. You see the same kind of, the narrative of them being worldwide peacekeepers. Well, countries like Japan and South Korea, they're going through all of these different things as well, because they also have North Korea right there, and North Korea is teaming up with China and Russia. I don't see how people don't see that this is coming. For me, I feel like this is one of those obvious things. It's kind of like when we were going through CV and there was a lot of obvious facts. There was a lot of things that were just common sense, like that we thought wouldn't work. Like the arrows on grocery store lines making us go a separate way. Like things that just didn't make sense, like keeping us apart in one area. But then in the grocery store, you had 500 people in the grocery store on a busy day. 2 inches, there's no way you could avoid people. And it's like, what the heck is the point of banning gatherings if you're going to have 500 people in a grocery store every day? It was just stupid. With this, I think it's like one of those obvious things. We can see it happening. And most of you agree with me. For those you don't, I would just ask yourself, keep watching these patterns and look how this is just going to keep heading this direction. And because it is ingrained in us, and we don't know where it truly is ingrained in us from, might be part of the 4D chess, but nobody trusts the media, whether they're left or right. It doesn't matter. A lot of people don't trust the media. They might say they do to fit in, but even the people far left, they don't believe CNN and MSNBC, or if they do, it's because of repetition. You tell a lie long enough, then people start to believe it. And the same with Fox. I mean, Fox now, especially after kicking all of their important people off, MSNBC for the first time is beating them, right? Well, the thing is all of these media companies are failing. All of these media companies are falling by the wayside for digital content like this. And they can't have that. That's why all of these countries are changing their systems. They're trying to get us under one global umbrella. And this might be part of it. So as far as the two sides, Russia, North Korea, China, this and that, versus the U.S., NATO, Japan, all that, we don't know if behind closed doors they're high-fiving, but either way, I would say as civilians, we are going to see change, and it's going to be big change. And we warned you here, the next CV-19 comes along, only it will be different. Don't tell us we didn't warn you. Let's see here. Oxygen is overrated. Nice to see you. Follow the footprint stickers in the stores. Yeah, it was just stupid. Nobody followed it either. I mean, did people expect you, like, if you missed something to, like, go back around or something, like a go-kart? We're human beings. We're not cattle. I mean, they literally put arrows on the floor like we're cattle. I mean, it's just the stupidest idea. Like a cough can't travel 360. Yeah, you just didn't want to be in the path of somebody's breath, right? You didn't want to walk through their breath. So just walk behind them in the same direction. You'll totally miss it. It will somehow fly over your head. I saw people wearing motorcycle helmets. I still see people wearing masks, walking down the street outside with nobody within 200 feet, doing health walks and stuff. And I'm like, those people are going to end up having an early demise because they're not going to have even a common cold. And when they do get one, they'll accidentally touch a freaking handrail, and it will be like War of the Worlds. All of a sudden, a common cold will take them out because their immune system is so poor. But yeah, and then North Korea test fires 2 ballistic missiles into the Sea of Japan. So Dex, after all of this was said, then they end up actually launching.
Literally right after it's done, they launch. And of course, it's not like a major launch. It's a couple of their smaller missiles. They launched them right into the sea, but it is just, sort of a statement that's being made. And obviously the timing matters. So for them to do that, for them to launch them, the other question is whether or not it landed in the country's Japan's exclusive maritime zone. That would be an interesting thing. They were looking into whether or not that actually happened and what they consider. I don't know that would actually change anything, but it's not like they're going to instantly go react. But at the same time, we tend to do this tit for tat drills against and North Korea whenever they do these launches. So, we had the meeting, they had the launch. So expect us to then say, all right, well, you guys are acting up again. So now we're going to roll, a drill around the area again, and then we'll see them do something else. But yeah, instant response.
And somebody from Washington said it's pretty bad out here in Washington. Even it's way out in the boonies, and they'll still wear them. Let's see here. Gesundheit, this is a Google account. Strongfoot, nuclear virus, willy goat juice, V weapons. Just say no. Well, agree on that, sort of. I don't know about willy goat juice. Let's see here. Think of the press as a great keyboard on which government can play. Joseph Goebbels. Yeah, well, speaking of Goebbels, like the thing, tell a lie big enough for long enough, and people will start believing it. That was from the NAZIs. That's what they're acting like now. Let's see here. Richie Rich. What's going on? Diane Thomas. Zen1AZ. By the way, thank you, Vibron. Thank you, Rip, for being here. Rip Kroll Readiness, one of our great mods. And then Wages World says, happiness is a choice, and we have to find it. It's not promised, and it's not looking for us. Find it and choose it daily. Crusader Daily, thank you again. And then Vic Santiago and Mimi Miller. I believe I missed you last night. I believe you did a super chat while we were over on Jams, or it was way, way late in the show. So thank you. Thank you. And then a couple new members. Thank you guys for joining. Over on D Live, Scooby Doo Do Right, Tracy Tony, Yobi, Kimbria, and Poco Loco. Thank you. All right. And then I don't know who that was. Somebody said, how's the daily propaganda push? I don't know if that was meant to be like an insult or something, but we point out propaganda all the time. And we make sure that people know that you have to take everything. One thing about our show is we don't tell you what to think. You guys, here's what I see a lot of. I see a lot of people saying, don't listen to that person. Don't listen to that person. What is that? When another adult tells somebody else, don't listen to that person. Does that ever work? Because that adult will usually go out of their way to then listen to that person. Don't listen to this person. No, this person you can't listen to. When somebody else, a third party, says, "Don't listen to this person. This is bad." People are naturally going to go, "Don't tell me what I can listen to. I'll go listen to what I want, and I'll make up my own mind." And that's how things should be. If somebody truly did think like, "Hey, this channel's bad. They push propaganda," then don't watch it. Don't waste your time with it. But people take a stand, and really I think it's because I think they've been hurt in some way at some point in their life. So then they feel like they need to try to stop other people from doing it. That's what they tell themselves they're doing. But really it's just like usually it's a petty hate thing, or they just don't like you, or they don't like the way they talk, or they disagreed with one thing you said, so then everything else is out the window. Everybody here is an adult, and I know that. Like, there's 0.001% out of all of our subscribers that are under 18. Most are over 40, 50. They've been on the world long enough to figure out if they like me, good. If they don't, they might watch the show just to yell at me, and I think some people do. Just like my grandpa used to listen to Rush Limbaugh and scream at the radio every day with hatred in his eyes, but he would listen to every single show, and he called in more than anybody on that damn show. So you can be that kind of person. I encourage it. If you don't agree with me, that's great. If you never listen to somebody that you don't agree with, then you will never test your actual theory. Because if you're willing to listen to something that somebody says that goes completely against the grain of what you think, then that will make you stronger in the way that you can test your theory, and you can actually come out of it either believing what you believe stronger, or you end up changing your mind, which is called educating yourself. So I have been educated on this show many times. I've been educated by chat, by viewers, by emails. I've been educated and corrected myself many times. I'm not a genius. I'm like you. I just want answers, and I try to find them. But, we're not going to get them. People give us crap for reading mainstream media, but this is where the patterns are. This is where, if you watch the intro with the they live part, like the eat, consume, obey, that's it's making a point. Like that stuff isn't a real thing. Subliminal messages and the messages that they put out are just so much more subtle than that. If we did have a magic pair of glasses, we could see all of the subliminal messages out there, but we can't. But after you've trained yourself for so many years, you can see in a video when they put certain symbols. You can see in music videos and in commercials and how they say things. I mean, for God's sakes, the nighttime shows like Stephen Colbert doing dances, dressed up as 8-foot, needles and things, dancing around saying, "Do this." Yeah, that's definitely like super propaganda. And people like us can see that. We go, "Oh my gosh, this is so clear." But people that don't, they just go, "Oh yeah," and it pops into their head. Just as Coca-Cola pops their label into your head all over the place, or Pepsi. How the Pepsi logo is everywhere. And when you go to the store, you look at 8 different kinds, your brain keeps thinking of Pepsi because you saw it 15 times on the way to the store. This is what the governments of the world do. This is what the people in charge of us do. And they know it is that simple. Because we are human beings, just like if you took, we're very much more advanced, but if you take animals and if you show them a certain color 15 days in a row and then show them 3 little holes and they're outlined with a different color, if you show them a hole with a certain color around it, they will go to that exit. It's programming. And we have to see this in mainstream. Mainstream is where the programming is. It's where the messaging is. It is where the patterns are, because they all coordinate. We know this. In fact, we know they coordinate, because if you think about it, they actually they actually program this kind of stuff all the time. Dex, would you not agree? Like, if mainstream is where these patterns end up showing up.
Yeah, we see them all the time. We've talked about it. I mean, just like with CV, we talked about it before it happened and got ridiculed for it, but then it happened. So yeah, I mean, we can look at this, we can follow the patterns. I mean, the alternative is to take other news from people that may or may not actually be at the scene and have no other insight but their own opinion. And there's nothing wrong with that, because people's opinions can, be insightful, or at least create dialogue and create good questioning. But at the end of the day, I mean, if an event happens at a location, somebody has to be there to report it. And if, there's a good alternative source there that's doing it, then wonderful. But if not, the only thing you have to rely on is the reports that come out. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to trust them. We don't trust any of it. Like we tell you right up front, take it all with a grain of salt, all of it.
Well, the best part is, and this is an important part. So if we have a story like this, North Korea test fires 2 ballistic missiles, you instantly have 5,000, 4,000, 3,000, whatever, 1,000 people in chat. So you have a group of your peers, and you see that 90% of them say this is propaganda. Then you could really, I mean, two minds are greater than one, but 1,000 and all of them agree on the same thing, and they're saying it right off the bat, then you can gauge the room and say, okay, everybody is thinking this. And in normal situations, if you saw this pop up on a TV at work, everybody's not going to go, oh, that's propaganda. They're not going to say anything. So you normally, and by the way, that those peers around you, they do affect your brain and what you might think or what you might question. If they always said, like, oh, if they jumped off a cliff, would you? A lot of the times that's what happens. If 10 people are doing a cliff dive or something, you go, oh, everybody's doing it. And then you do it. I almost killed myself doing a really high cliff jump, and I literally stopped at the last second, but still kept going with momentum and almost hit the wall of it. I'm lucky to be here. But it's the peer pressure of like everybody doing it. And that's what it is in the public and outside and in the workplace. And they've made it this way in schools, at work, pretty much everywhere. Everybody is pressured to think a certain way. And this certain way is on one side of an aisle. That's what pushes people like me away, not so much of the actual beliefs behind either of the sides. It's that they're silencing one and then they're pushing up another. I'm always going to root for the underdog, and most all of us do. We're all rooting for the underdog. But if you have somewhere to gauge what this is, and I don't see how people could say when we cover a live story and then we have 1,000 people in our chat saying that's propaganda. How would we be pushing propaganda if we're calling it out on a daily basis? That's what I don't get. When it really comes down to it, and they won't admit it, it's about petty, like, I don't like that person, or I just don't like how he talks, or he's ugly, or whatever. It breaks down to a much more human, just I don't like them. And you're never going to have everybody like you. I'm never, ever going to have anybody like me. But I think that people can relate to the fact that we're all, none of us know everything. Kissinger sees war over Taiwan likely unless U.S. and China back down. Dex, Kissinger, his quotes have been, they were so many places up until, I really, really got educated in this stuff. When I was in high school, I saw Kissinger quotes. I thought the guy was dead. I thought he was like 200 years old, the amount of quotes I see, from Kissinger. But his quotes are everywhere. Should we listen to things like this? He's basically saying that there will be a war over Taiwan unless somebody backs down.
I don't know if should we listen to it. Like it doesn't have to be gospel, but it has to be an input. Like take it and put it in the back of your brain and know that he's very influential. He just turned 100, not 200, but I know you thought he was 200 a long time ago. But yeah, he just turned 100. He's up there. But here's a couple of things he had to say. He said, on the current trajectory of relations, I think some military conflict is probable. In other words, we're headed dead on for conflict as it relates to the U.S. and China. He also says that the current trajectory of the relations must be altered. Obviously, that makes sense. If you think that we're headed down the wrong path, you got to change the path. He also said it was up to Washington and Beijing to basically step back from their standoff. And he said that they have not yet actually engaged in the sort of dialogue that he suggested. So apparently he has often suggested that there needs to be better forms of communication between the two countries to, bring about this end of the standoff that we're in. So he also said it's a unique situation in the sense that the biggest threat of each country is the other. In other words, we're two superpowers. And this is the last quote was that wars between two superpowers cannot be won. Or as he put it, they're winnable only at a cost that are out of proportion. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that last statement. And I'm not necessarily taking all this. It's just his pontification, but he's also had a lot of insight in his role. He talks to a lot of people. He's very influential. He has been at the forefront of leadership outside of being the president. He's, had many positions in our country and has been well respected, at least maybe not by us as the common people, but definitely in the industrial complex and definitely in the corners around DC. So he's got some insight. Take that, put it all with a nice dosing of salt, and that's what you got.
Well, there have been a lot of things that he has been right about it, but it depends on why he's telling people it. Why did they quote him so much? Why did they search out 100-year-old for this? Well, I mean, I guess he's made some some really, really big predictions before. So you would think somebody that retired probably 3 decades ago would probably be out of sight, out of mind, but not Kissinger. And then before we move on, I want to remind you guys, make sure to go check out the Solar Generator Energy. This is one of the best out there. We recommend this one because it is one of the best built and it's the most reliable. If we do get stuck in a power grid down scenario, you would want some sort of generator, whether it be gas or solar. In a perfect world, you would have both because they all have pros and cons. But the biggest pro about solar generators, in this one in particular, is it's expandable. So you can either get it with one battery or you can expand it up to 96 batteries if you're trying to power, house or multiple houses. So make sure to go check this out. It's also stealth, which means it's silent. You can barely hear it when it's right next to you. And that's with the fan on if it's really going full blast. If it is on, it literally makes no sound. So this isn't something that people are going to hear from 3 blocks away. It's not something you have to build a shack for and put it outside because of noxious gases. You don't have any of that with solar. You also are able to get unlimited power. You don't have to store fuel. You just need to store some solar panels. Those solar panels then plug in, and it's literally the simplest system ever. You put the solar panels out, you put it down, you plug one cord into it, and then all of a sudden power is going into it and storing in the batteries. So that is really, really cool. You can also mod them the way that they made it. It works like Lego, and there's no better way to put it. You can literally stack different mods in it to change the overall performance. You can add the ability to have it be a UPS system, uninterrupted power supply. You can add the ability to supercharge it. You can add the ability to triple the amount of solar panels that you get. So, and then they can come out with mods over the life of this thing. You get it now, and 10 years from now, they could make a mod that you can just throw right in. So that is so cool about this system. Later down the road, you could update the head unit if you wanted. Again, you could update the batteries. You could do whatever. But that's the cool part. And they also have the new Tactical. This is such a good company that it is actually won the attention of the Air Force Research Laboratory, and they actually helped design this. So the military's Air Force Research Laboratory ended up designing the Tactical, the Flex Tactical with them, and it is definitely beefy. It's got built-in, baked-in battery heaters for extreme colds. If you were in some sort of Arctic temperatures or even freezing temperatures, this thing could keep going. It also is water-resistant, dust-resistant. It's made, actually has a steel casing housing, and then, of course, it has the 1,500-pound latches. So this thing could basically fall off the back of a truck and stay. It would probably roll like a brick. So really, really awesome. Make sure to go check it out. I do think it is especially worth it if they still have the sales on them, because this is going to be a little bit pricier than the Flex, but it is definitely worth it right now, especially when they are first coming out with them and they're on pre-order. All of those first people that get it are going to get it for a couple $100 cheaper, actually. So make sure to go check that out and check out their folding panels. Those are the packages I would look at. Again, very, very cool. Thank you guys. And it also helps support us. Go to marfugglenews.com/energy. You get a discount. You help your favorite channel. And of course, you're protecting yourself against any kind of power outage or any kind of disaster, really. Make sure to use that code Marfoogle. Otherwise, you will not get the savings on this one particularly. All right. And then, Dex, do you want to go over China to see the world's biggest millionaire exodus this year? How do they know that?
So last year, about 10,800 high net worth individuals migrated out of China. And they're estimating that this year, 13,500 are expecting to leave. And by the way, they're saying, hey, it's not actually the CV that did it. It's been going on for years. Every year, more and more of the wealth that gets built in China leaves and goes to another country. And moves out. So that's an interest. So part of it is it's creating a wealth gap, or at least it's causing another part of their economic strain when all that wealth leaves. But it's also interesting to wonder why. Why are they leaving the country? Where are they going? And why is it so many each year? And why is it more and growing? It's a growing number year over year. But this time they're saying it's going to be even bigger. 13,500 high net worth individuals are leaving the country.
But aren't they always tied to China in some way? So are these people then leaving, buying property other places, and then somehow still dual citizenship, with China? Because if they do get to the millionaire level, if you live in China, you don't truly ever really own anything. It's like, so if you make $1 billion company, it's guaranteed that is going to be connected with the country and the actual government there. You can't make $1 billion company in China and be completely independent. China could come and say, we want to take that company back. They've done it. Very similar things like that. One woman who is a multi-millionaire, $400 million or more, one of the richest women in China, was a TV star and everything else. They basically fined her for something in the amount of money she had in her bank account, and it's like that. They could just take it. Do you know what I'm saying? Or again, somebody.
Oh yeah, I totally get it, and that may be one of the reasons why they do want to leave with their fat bank accounts. And once they leave and they take their money with them, look, we see it all the time here in America. How many properties on the West Coast get bought up by cash from Chinese money that's coming across, whether it's the people themselves or money from the investors that are coming over. So these high net worth individuals do leave these, a lot of countries. And the stats, like for South Korea and Japan, they're estimating only like 800 or 300. So that's not a lot when you look at, China at 13,000 high net worth individuals. So yeah, it's an interesting statistic. When I saw it, I was like, wow, that's, I've never thought about it. But it causes a problem, because if like they take all their money and they go spend it in another country because they're buying homes, properties, vehicles, that's money that's not being spent in their country, right? So that does cause an issue. Or if they take their money and invest it and build another business in another country, that's money not being spent in their country.
It makes me think that they're doing it for their country. Tumbling exports feed worker unrest in world's factory China. Strikes at Chinese factories have surged to a 7-year high and are expected to become more frequent as weak global demand forces exporters to cut workers' pay and shut down plants, one rights group and economists say. It says export and factory output in the world's second largest economy tumbled in May as looming downturns forced the United States and Europe to pack its orders for the goods made in China. Some factories closed are struggling to pay wages or severance for laid-off workers as a result. According to Chinese labor researchers, that has led to a spike in labor disputes that hurts consumer and business confidence as it was recovering from the 3 years of CV that curbed it. It says, quote, "We believe that the drop in manufacturing orders and that factory closures will continue." So basically that because of all of the lack of orders, that these factories are essentially going to close down. Bosses want to cut costs by simply dumping workers. Well, I mean, I thought that the workers were kind of the cheapest part of it, but apparently even they're cutting workers. CLB reported over 140 strikes at factories across the country in the first 5 months of this year, the highest since the 313 recorded during the same period in 2016. The rights group data is mostly based on protests reported on social media, some of which the CLB has been able to verify through contact with unions or the factories, although not all reports are verified. Many of the strikes are concentrated in China's manufacturing heartland of Guangdong province and the Yangtze River Delta and involve exporters including from garment, shoe, and printed circuit board factories, CLB said. So that's apparently what's happening. We don't know if that is true or not. Again, all of the information is hard to get out of there that's accurate. And then F-22 Raptors demonstrate air superiority in CENTCOM, Central Command. Dex, they're saying that the Raptors are kicking butt.
Well, so specifically, CENTCOM is the area that covers mostly the Middle East. It's like from Turkey over to India. That territory is CENTCOM. They are now moving F-22s in, and they're saying, and this is coming from CENTCOM Mill. This is a press release from them. They're moving them in there, and they're specifically doing it because they're saying it's in the wake of the unprofessional behavior by the Russian aircraft. So if you remember, we've talked a couple times about different incidences that have happened over there, specifically near Syria and other countries in that area, where they have been very, very aggressive towards our other planes. So this is the, considered, the top of the top. It's fifth generation. It's the most, capable plane we have. This and the F-35s. I think the F-35 recently got an F-22 software upgrade to it. If that tells you anything. The F-22s are pretty amazing. So putting them over there definitely shows a sign of strength, probably to tell them, hey, don't mess around with this anymore. And what will be interesting, though, to see is if by doing this, the arrogance and the unprofessional behavior, as CENTCOM is calling it, continues. If they continue to do it and they're doing it up against F-22s, then maybe we'll see, it go from being reported that they flew too close to us to somebody's getting, shot at in the sky. I don't know. I don't want to see that happen. I hope it doesn't. But if they continue to push the buttons, eventually, they're not going to sit by and just take it. At least I wouldn't think.
No, they would not. And then analysts, Saudi Arabia, China undermining U.S. influence in the Middle East. What's crazy is it needs an analyst to say this, right? Saudi Arabia, China undermining U.S. influence in the Middle East. Well, we've seen this for months on end since obviously the coverage of President JB. Saudi Arabia wasn't even answering calls from our president. At the same time, they were rolling out the red carpet for Xi. And, of course, they have done this on multiple occasions with many of Xi's high-ranking officials. Meanwhile, they have been essentially kind of giving us the cold shoulder. It says the United States has always had a complicated relationship with the Middle East, but after years of U.S. military intervention in the region and ongoing Cold War-like relationship between Saudi Arabia's de facto ruler, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, known as MBS, and the JB administration, China is stepping in to fill the regional diplomatic role that was once exclusive domain of the United States. So here's a crazy thought. So you know how the U.S. and Western countries are really, really pushing to get away from oil. Meanwhile, China and Russia are like doubling down. It seems like, and they could even secretly be tripling down on it, right? They're making the good relationship with Saudi Arabia, all of this. All of a sudden, we're all electric, and it turns out that it's really not that good long term, or something happens, and then all of a sudden, who ends up having the petrodollar, or the petro won, or the petro ruble, right? It just seems to me like it's almost like from inside, people are trying to knock out our knees and then bring us down a notch so somebody else can then take that place. What do you guys think? Let me know what your opinion is. I'd love to hear differing opinions, or what do you think about this? It says, if you look at Saudi Arabia, yes, it has changed a lot, especially since MBS has been in power. It used to be just lockstep. They were a sure thing ally. It's not like that anymore. It's very unpredictable. Dr. Melinda McClymans, assistant director of Ohio State University's Middle East Studies Center and co-author of the book Keys to Understanding the Middle East. It says Mohammed bin Salman, the seventh son of King Salman, was named crown prince on June 21st, 2017, and then prime minister of the kingdom on September 27, 22. The U.S. Central Intelligence Agency alleges that MBS ordered the 2018 taking out of Jamal Khashoggi, which was apparently, into little pieces. And it's that was the columnist for the Washington Post who had been critical of the kingdom. And Hussein Amir Abdullah, the foreign minister of Iran, Saudi Arabia's foreign minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud, and Chinese foreign minister Qin Gang during their meeting. Analysts believe that a team of 15 Saudi agents took part in the murder of the at the Saudi consulate in Turkey after strangling Khashoggi. Saudi agents then, his body with a bone saw. That's some creepy stuff. That's straight out of a movie stuff. If I don't think anybody will truly know because they covered up all of the stuff, but pretty savage, like straight out of a movie. But not like a spy movie, more like a horror movie, or something like out of what's it face, Scarface or something, not out of James Bond. Saudi Arabia denies that MBS was involved and claims that the Saudi agents responsible for Khashoggi went rogue. Why would that? Doesn't make sense. But I'm not expert on that area, so let me know if you are. Let me know what you think happened. And then in 2021, as President JB declassified a federal FBI report alleging a connection between the 2001 event terrorist and Omar Bayoumi, who the FBI claims was a Saudi intelligence agent living in the U.S. 15 of the 19 Islamic terrorists who attacked the U.S. on September 11. 2001 were Saudi nationals. The FBI report also claims that Saudi diplomat Fahad Thurhamri was involved. So, this is why folks are talking about this again. The reason why people are bringing up 2001, which actually should never be forgot. What's funny is they say, never forget the two towers, but everybody tells you to forget Building 7, right? But that's why nobody should forget any of that. And if you have done your research, or if you're a little bit beyond that time, if you were, there's a few people have said, oh, I was too young during that time. I would highly recommend going back in time, trying to go around the internet kind of, blockades that are around that subject and really, really dig deep. If you are sitting here and you haven't dug deep on that event, then you should probably wait to sit here, because that event changed all of our lives. It's why many of us are here. It's why myself is sitting here because of some random DVDs somebody handed me on the street in like 2003 telling me about what happened. It changed my mind on everything. It literally, because they show you something on TV, they show you something across media, they're all organized, they're all on the same page, and then you find out all of this other stuff, and you go, it was a huge thing for me, because it opened the door of like, oh my gosh, somebody could have been capable of this here. right? That there may be reasons, and it also opens up the fact that, that your own country could have rogue people doing things horrible towards its own country. You know what I mean? That's what's so crazy about, and then that brought in a whole era, everything, the Patriot Act, everything since then has changed. The whole thing that Snowden came out with in 2012, where everybody's being tracked, traced, watched, their cell phones. The reason why they literally sell cell phone camera covers at Target right now is because of 2001. Because people know that the NSA and all of these places are watching us. In fact, we've just covered more news about that. So this all ties back to 22, 23 years ago to this event, and it's now playing out. So think about that. All of the connections that this has to that event. Think about the next event and how that could change our world further. How that could quickly, overnight, and I mean overnight, or over an afternoon, how an entire country could change the way that it runs because of one event. Think about that. And if you don't realize that our country changed forever after 2001, then you have to go back in time and you have to look at what changed, what was enacted, what was put in place, and what were the permanent changes that happened after that in one day. So this is, I think this is going to be a bigger deal than many people are even going to realize. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Dex, did you have any comments on SA?
No, nothing other than it's not a surprise. I mean, given the way our administration has sort of, had this debacle with them over the last couple of years, to see anybody swoop in and woo them over.
Thought it was funny. Later, they actually have a piece on the influence of Henry Kissinger, which is something we just talked about. If you want to protect yourself against EMP, we have a really, really great recommendation. If you want your car to run after an EMP strikes or a CME, a coronal mass ejection, then you would want to have one of these in your vehicles. The vehicle ones are definitely the most popular, and the new EMP Shield Micro is even more popular now because it's about a third of the size of a regular one, and it's all the same protection. This is the same company that has outfitted DHS, DOD, and now they're helping officially on the DEMSO team, helping the Texas grid. This is a really, really easy device to put in. They don't only make it for cars, trucks, ATVs, motorcycles, generators, houses, RVs, whatever you can think of, solar systems. They make it for everything. But this is one of the easiest ones to put in. If you can think about it, there's 3 wires here, red to red, black to black, and green to ground. That's how easy it is to put it into your vehicle, and then your vehicle will run to get you to bug out, or run to get you home to bug in. So if you do work especially far from home, this would be a really good thing to have on your vehicle, and it will protect you against 2 of the most probable or major events that could possibly happen. Judging that EMP is threatened by however many countries, and of course CME is a guarantee. It's just a matter of time when one hits us. Hopefully a CME won't affect us in 10, 15, 20 years because we will have hardened our grid. But as it sits right now, they have not hardened our grid, and we are still extremely vulnerable. Our grid goes down, we go down. So marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. And actually, for this code, you don't have to. If you just go to marfooglenews.com/EMP, you shouldn't have to use it. But if you use any other way to get there, just use the code MARF, and you'll get that savings, $50 off per device, and you'll be helping our independent channel. We're on our own, I hope, and I really love that a lot of people will actually root for us, regardless of affiliates or ads like this, because 1, we believe in these things. We believe that they'll save lives. But 2, you should be rooting for independent. We don't have multi-billion-dollar corporations putting ads on our stuff. We have usually a veteran-owned or an American company, something like that. And then that helps us fund growing this channel and making something out of it that actually makes a difference without all of the ties to all of this crazy stuff that these big shows have. We get as many views as a daytime CNN show, and we're doing it with virtually nothing. So again, thank you guys. We appreciate your support. And if you have a suggestion for something we should have as an affiliate that you think would be a good fit, let us know. email us. The information's down below. If there's something that, would be helpful to the Foogle fam, we're always open to that kind of stuff. All right, and then Dex. Photos from Ukraine's offensive show how U.S. Bradley IFVs are kicking butt even when they got blasted by Russia.
Ganda alert, at least for the writing and the putting out of this information. But let's just take a look. What they're basically saying is, hey, take a look here. This was hit and it's still running. And by the way, sure, our vehicles are great. They've got great armor on them, and would like to think that the Bradley infantry fighting vehicle took a direct hit and took a licking and kept on ticking, right? But at the same time, this is hot on the heels of that video showing the annihilation of like 4 or 5 vehicles all in a row, and then the Western tanks being taken out in the field. And I'm not talking about the farm equipment. That was a different incident, but the other one where they took the tanks out, where they really were tanks and you could see them, the Leopards and others. So anyway, this is, a rah piece to, help bolster, I guess, the demand of bringing in more Western equipment because it works so well and they really need it to help them win this battle.
I love how they say a composite image. It's a composite because it does have, the two images put together. But I could see people going, a composite image? That means it's it's put together. But
I thought the same thing.
The thing is this could have happened in like Desert Storm or something. It wouldn't be painted like this though. But I'm just saying this could have happened somewhere else, and then I don't know. It very well could have hit a direct hit. But again, it would make more sense. So they show this after the days of people talking about how they just smashed 5 of them, blew them out of the water. It seems like a PR thing to try to get back in the good graces with the narrative. And a guy who started a website that tracks orca incidents with boats near Spain and Portugal said that the encounters are at least now every day. So this is really interesting because we talked about how these orcas are attacking boats, and it was multiple times. And they say it was over one orca. What was it, Gladys? Do you remember her name? White Gladys? I think it's White Gladys. I think it's in here. And we talked about how this was initially thought maybe it was a revenge thing. Like White Gladys was hit or injured by a boat and then got mad and saw other boats, and like got pissed off. Like stubbed her toe on a chair and then was like, I'm kicking all chairs' butts like forever now. And that's what they're saying. They essentially say that it is White Gladys, and I think, does this one even have it? Oh, okay.
Yes, it's in there.
There's another article that talks about what exactly is. Yeah, this is a different one. So the other article,
second to last paragraph.
Oh, okay. The other article that I saw actually specifically goes on how they're copying. And it says why these orcas are spending so much time around boats is unclear. One theory is that the single traumatized orca called White Gladys is behind the attacks and other killer whales are imitating her. But other experts suggest that the orcas just want to play. So first of all, orcas are very savage if they actually do want to eat something. If they actually team up, they do very, very intelligent exercises, basically. They can take a say a penguin on a piece of ice, and they'll have 4 orcas basically swim as fast as they can and jump up and make a wave that makes the ice essentially knock the penguin off, and they'll have a 5th orca on the other side ready to catch it. That takes organization and planning. That's not just instincts. That's something, right? Well, now they are essentially attacking human beings in boats, and they say it's because White Gladys has this revenge thing. I don't know. If so, then if this spreads, then killer whales will truly match their name. But, many animal activists are saying, this is no reason to say that this will happen across the board. If it starts happening all over the world, then that would be a different story. Are they pissed because they got hit by boats and now they're essentially taken out? Or are they just wanting to play with humans by essentially destroying boats? It doesn't seem like a very playful thing. But yeah, it says the apex predator, whatever the reason, the apex predators are not to be underestimated. And it's true. These things are absolutely insane. They've been known to hunt great white sharks and even blue whales, humongous whales. If you encounter a killer whale, there are some important rules to follow. First and foremost being never enter the water with them. It's true. And they are savage when they actually take it. They will grab you by the leg and drag you down and spin until your leg comes up. Then they will come up and grab you again with the other leg and spin until it comes off. They will tear you to pieces. They'll Khashoggi you. So, very, very crazy. Rod, thank you for subscribing. Delby Diaz, thank you, says, Jesus gives you the true bread of everlasting life, Tree of Life, decoded book available everywhere. Tree of Life. I've never seen that book. Let's see here. Wages World, again, thank you. Vibron, Crusader General, Vic Santiago, thank you. A few new members there, thank you. Let's see. Monk Me, thank you for becoming a member. Appreciate that. And Michelle Cameron, thank you. Thank you. George Richard, appreciate you joining the Foogle fam. Rasta Bear, thank you. Carmine Petraka, thank you for grabbing a badge. And Kronosh, thank you. Badger Worthy, Blop Jones, Devin Cutmore, Veet Outdoorsman. Oh, that's pretty clever there. Fed Up, thank you. Rebecca Alberton and TR, Louis Tramposh last week, Troy O'Brien, Stephanie Cook, Stephen McMahon, Lord Andrew, and Laura Gittins. Thank you guys. Thank you for your support. And then Twitter hit with $250 million lawsuit from music publishers over massive copyright infringement. Dex, how can they do this?
Well, this is very similar to what we saw years ago with YouTube. Is the music industry comes at them and says, "Hey, look, we've got roughly 1,700 infringements that they filed, and hundreds of thousands of takedown notices." And they're saying it's worth about $250 million. And this is coming from Universal, Sony, and Warner. So the three, major conglomerates that own majority of all the music out there. So they're coming after them. And I suspect that, they'll go through their lawsuit. They'll probably settle, pay some sort of fee for it, and more than likely have to create something very similar to what YouTube does, where it, checks for the music. And if people are using music, they're saying that people are creating videos on Twitter, doing it and putting in copyrighted music for the purposes of, gaining followers, retaining their account holders, or getting more views, etc. So, all of that is, to the music industry, they consider that a copyright infringement.
So what if they just post a link to YouTube, then YouTube is responsible, or if they post a link to Facebook, then it's Facebook, right? But
it's not the links that matter. It's if you make a video, put the video
through
on
Twitter,
and it's got music in it that's copyrighted. That's where they're going after, because Twitter has no mechanism to deal with that. So,
because they don't really have it set up so you can record a video on Twitter, but you can upload one from so if you record a video on your phone or something, or any media file, you can just upload it, right? And if that has copyrighted music, then that's what they're talking about, right?
Correct.
Excuse me.
That's exactly what they're talking about. And here's the thing. I think a lot of people have talked about where Twitter's going, and a lot of people have speculated that they're trying to get into the video business, especially as you look at somebody like Tucker come along and get hundreds of thousands of views, or hundreds of millions, of views on his first video, 50 million views the second go around. If they continue down that path, then they're basically going to be putting themselves in a position to be a video platform, and we'll have to deal with this problem just like YouTube did. And they more than likely will probably have to get the same type of system in place. And I'm sure there are plenty of companies out there that are more than happy to give them some form of what YouTube calls content ID, where it identifies all of the audio that's being used so they can flag it for infringement.
Huh. So somebody said you can record 10 minutes. I thought it was like, or I guess you can upload a 2-hour video, but apparently you can tap and hold the capture icon to record a video. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I think you can go longer if you're check mark.
Well, I thought that just in general, it was like a 2-hour max on, but it was up to 2 hours if you have the blue check or whatever. Either way, I want to start putting stuff over there too as far as video, because I have seen some insane stuff over on Twitter. But I don't know how long that's going to last now with the new CEO from the WEF, right? Linda Yaka something. Yakking big time. But as far as this goes, I mean, it's like, I would, from his previous things that he's done, like he didn't pay rent for, so long at the San Francisco office or whatever. I could see him doing this on purpose and trying to hold out as long as possible and then getting sued. And that $250 million is probably less than what he made from possibly letting people do that for however long. So maybe it was, obviously he knew about this, right? And they said that he fought to not secure licensing for a minute. So.
Did you hear they got kicked out of the Boulder office because of the rent? Yeah, he didn't pay the rent there either, so they finally literally evicted him today.
Wow.
Boulder, Colorado.
So he's a horrible tenant. Oh man.
Or a smart businessman saving some money, I guess.
Yeah. He's bringing everything, and he stole the kitchen sink apparently. Just kidding. He actually brought them an extra one, so I don't think you can use that one. Make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/prep. You can get freeze-dried food at one of the most affordable prices. This is you get $200 off on a 3-month plan. You can definitely bulk up a whole lot. Make sure to go check it out, marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, there is $200 off on the 3-month supply, and you will help our channel at the same time. It's freeze-dried, so it will last until 2052. And again, this is something that will help our channel at the same time as backing you up. You don't have to get a 3-month plan. They have much smaller plans like the 72-hour kit for a go bag and such. So make sure to go check out all of them. All right. And then Dex, let's go over some of the crazy stuff here.
Yeah, so head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up the show notes link down in the description. Don't go anywhere, folks. Some interesting things happening here. So this is the page you'll land on. All the news we just covered is up above, including that video that we did on the cyber threat from the other countries that are talking about going after the banks. All of that's on the webpage. Then you're going to find this overflow bar, and this is the rest of the story. So, hey, Axiom Space is actually trying to build a private space station. And I know we've talked about space hotels and other things like that. So just another one, just another private company getting into this business. There's an interesting story talking about the quarantine procedures from NASA during the moon landings. They're saying, yes, the moon landings were real, but the actual procedures they went through were probably more for show and less for reality. That seems like that they didn't actually follow all of that, even though they spent a lot of money. But they were talking like the capsule when it came in had zero protection. It ventilated itself from the outside air. They had to pop the hatch in the ocean. So anything that would have been microbial in there that they were worried about would have been in our ocean. So just because they've built a facility and told the astronauts to go hang out there for like 2 weeks or however long it was, the period that they had to be quarantined, they were saying it really didn't happen. So interesting for what it's worth. I know a lot of people don't even believe the first part of that statement. So a lot of updates with T-Man, a lot of updates in the political spectrum. It's all there. DeSantis's feud with Newsom is there. All of that's going on. So go take a look. We got plenty of it for you. There's some updates on Bard and what's happening with Google. And here's an interesting thing. They actually warned their own staff about using AI. This is the same company that's rolling one out. So that's all there. Some updates in the crypto world. some other things going on in Northern California. They continue to talk about secessions and possibly breaking away from the state. So if that's of interest to you, go check it out. As well as a lot more. So, and the smoke is back from the Canadian fires. They're now in Chicago and Minneapolis. So, as a couple of other cities that air quality is getting hit pretty hard with. So, all of that and a lot more. It's all there, including an interesting story in Hawaii. But go take a look, marfugelnews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show or open up that show notes link down below in the description.
By the way, long time ago when I first started this channel, I had one of the guys on that was he was the leader of the party trying to secede from California. Dex, you weren't around for that, were you?
I remember that. Yes, I do. I don't remember if I was with you or just listening to you at the time, but yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, long time ago. I had the guy on that was literally he was going all over he was traveling all over the place trying to get the word out to secede. And yes, somebody said, so what was that? Dang it, I missed a pretty good, somebody asked, if it's hard, I wonder how hard it is to do freeze-dried do-it-yourself. It is not hard, but it's expensive. That's the problem with the freeze-dried food is the freeze dryers themselves are expensive. If you did want to get into a low-cost thing, so this is for the folks, if you have the ability to get food, go do this. Because it's not the one and done. You can do this and be one and done if you just want that, but I would mix it up with everything else. And there's also other ways to do it. There's a lot of channels in our friends page that talk about dehydrating. You could learn to do dehydrating and do it reasonably cheaper, or a lot cheaper than this, instead of paying a few grand for a freeze dryer, and then they take so long to freeze dry. So it is a process, and you have to do a whole lot of it to really back yourself up for a long period of time. It takes so long to do it, so then you are basically doing it every day, and each day you're getting so much that's put back into your stocks. But dehydrating is a lot more. It's a lot more inexpensive. It's a smaller price to start, but it is a lot of work. And that's the thing. This is for the people that really just want to get it done and have it ready, right now. But if you did want to get a freeze dryer, I'd highly recommend, do your research on them and make sure that, you get the right one. I've talked to a friend, he got a freeze dryer and he could have spent $250 more to get a much bigger one. And he really kicked himself in the butt because it was now he did just the base price to get in to double what he's doing right now. He has to spend the original price. It was a couple thousand. Whereas he could have paid a couple $100 more and gotten basically double the space in his freeze dryer. Or it was 2/3. But yeah, dehydrating is a good thing if you are on a really low budget and can't afford to go through something like this. So make sure to go check out. There's tons of channels on this. There's tons of really great channels. And if you find a good video that really helps you and physically after the fact, come back to us and say, hey, this video helped me get started on this. And we will try to share that out so people know how to do this. Because if you can't afford any of our affiliates, we try to give you a solution so you can try to protect yourself either way. All right, and then let's hear it for the mods. Today was a little shorter show because it was set up to be a call-in show. I was in a lot of pain before the show, so I didn't know if we were going to do the show, but we made it through. So I do want to remind you, make sure to drop an M in the chat. Make sure to go check out the friends at marfugelnews.com/friends. And make sure to say hi and tell them Marf sent you. Lots of great people, and then all down here, great creators, including Wages World. Make sure to go check him out. He's under the mods, but he is definitely a great channel to check out. Ilea, Trinity, Red or Blue Pill was here tonight. She has a growing and budding channel that she puts a lot of work into. She edits for hours and hours and hours to make content, so make sure to go support Trinity, Red or Blue Pill. Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here. RGL Harris is great. Rip Crow Readiness was here tonight. Lisa R. Hall, again, what a amazing individual, just a beautiful human being. Go say hi to her. Jammer, One, Gem, CJ Blaze, was here the other day. So good to see you, CJ. And then Chance Paladin has books on Amazon, so make sure to go check out his books. He has lots of great stuff over there. And then Bones, he actually has a pretty funny TikTok, so go check it out. And then he has a great Twitter account. All right, thank you guys. And Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight.
Much love. Great job, brother.
B&B, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for the $10 super chat. I appreciate that. Let's hear Vibron from Australia. Thank you. And then Trinity Red or Blue Pill, happy Father's Day to everyone early. I never remember Father's Day. I mean, I literally have never celebrated it because my dad was gone really early. And now when it comes around for me, I never remember it. Luckily, my wife and kids do. Love you guys. Thank you so much. I have to remember Mother's Day. You can't forget that. But Father's Day, I always forget. Dex, thank you. Love you.
Much love, brother.
Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. B&B, thank you so much. You are the top supporter tonight over on D-Live. Thank you so much. Mr. Badass Wisconsin, Zenado 19, Tracy Tony, Phil Billy, thank you, Kiki Gray, Cybin, Beer Juice, Laura Griffith, and Yobi, thank you. Trinity red, Trinity red, Trinity red, Trinity red, Trinity red, Trinity red, a blue pill. Trinity red, Trinity red, Trinity red, Trinity red, oh blue pill. Trinity red, Trinity red, Trinity red, oh blue pill. Trinity red, Trinity red, Trinity red, oh blue pill. Trinity red, Trinity red, Trinity red, oh blue pill. Trinity red, Trinity red, oh blue pill. Trinity red, Trinity red, Trinity red, oh blue pill. Trinity red, Trinity red, Trinity red, oh blue pill. B&B, 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 B&B.